All right. Hello. Hello. Let's get this meeting started. My name is Denise. I am co-founder of Freedom Angels. And today we're kind of going to do a quick 15-minute video on what is to be expected in the state of California and how we can get engaged locally and statewide as far as pushing back on any and all bills that intrude on our personal freedoms. No mandates, no tracking, no tracing, no digital database. So I am excited. Thank you guys for coming on here on a Sunday, but we know that this week is an urgent call for all Californians to go into action. So we are in overdrive right now.
Yep. Hi, everyone. I'm Tara, also co-founder of Freedom Angels, and would actually like to say really at the start, this is, like Denise said, an urgent week for everyone to go into overdrive at the state level, at the local level, around the recall, around legislation, around, our schools, around the local elected boards. At all levels, do everything you can to engage everywhere you can this week. It's vitally important. So probably the first thing we should talk about is at the state legislature, AB1102. You might also know AB455. It looks like AB455 has been shelved for the time being. That was by Assemblywoman Buffy Hicks, a Democrat out of Oakland. That one was around requiring essentially vaccine passports, digital IDs, and around requiring employees and any customers over age 12 to show proof of vaccination. That one has, oops, do you see something? Let's see, something's happening on my screen, hang on.
I started streaming to YouTube, so you probably got it.
Okay, got it, thanks. Got it. So that one, it looks like it's being shelved for right now. But that just means that they're going to rework it. They can bring it back in a special session after the recall. They can also bring it back January 1 as the new legislative session begins. And before we go into 1102, we'll tell you very quickly, we're in this period of time, the last 11 days, it goes till September 10th, of the session where they're done, the legislature's done with all their hearings, they're done with all their committee process, and it's just at the floor, at the Senate and Assembly floors right now, nothing else. So during this window, they have to get things passed by both floors to put it on the governor's desk by September 10th. Then they are done. The legislators are done for the year unless a special session is called. They're done till January 1. Then the governor, Newsom, has from till October 10th to sign any bills that land on his desk. But he can sign them at any time. If they land on his desk tomorrow, he can sign them tomorrow. He doesn't have to wait for anything. And as we experienced in 2019, right, Denise? They want to just
push them through.
Yep, when they decide they want something through, they just push it right through and they take it all the way through. So AB 1102 is by Democratic Assembly member Evan Lowe out of Palo Alto. And both 455 and 1102 are controversial, not just even from their contents, which are horrific, to say the least, but because they are employing this really dirty political tactic called gut and amend. And gut and amend means they take a piece of legislation that was something completely different, and then in this last little bit, in these last weeks, when it's just at the Senate and Assembly floor outside of the the discussion and the committee process, they pull all the contents out and they put in what they want, and they make it a completely different bill. If that sounds dirty, if that sounds like lack of transparency, well, it 100% is. And to the extent that in California in 2016, Californians voted on Proposition 54, which was a measure that required transparency to the degree that it at least said that you must put in writing, publish in writing the full and final text of a bill on the internet for 72 hours before it's brought to vote. That allows both the legislators who are voting on it and the general public to at least see what is being essentially pushed and rammed through. So it is interesting to note that overall, So that passed, Prop 54 passed because people want some form of transparency. It was Republican led. There was libertarians. There was even Green Party supporting this. There was even actually San Francisco Chronicle and LA Times, who are not bastions of freedom and truth in reporting, supported it. But you know who was opposed to that transparency measure? The California Democratic Party, as was the California Nurses Association and the California Federation of Teachers and the California Labor Federation. We know about them, huh, Denise?
Yeah, we do.
Pretty interesting stuff. But what that means is that that right now, the legislators in this window for gut and amend, they are required to put the full and final text up. Right now, there is no text up on AB 1102. It was set for a third reading in the Senate last Friday, the 3rd. It was pulled by the author. That caused a lot of confusion. The truth is it was pulled from the 3rd reading on Friday, but that doesn't mean it's dead or not active. If you look at LegScan, which is where you can find and track the bills, it is still active, and it is scheduled for a 3rd reading in the Senate on Tuesday, the 7th. It's file number 127. That means that all this time over the weekend, they are hammering out what the text of this will look like. What exactly will this gut and amend look like? So really, we can't know until Tuesday what the final wording is going to be. So in our Freedom Angels, look around. There are calls to actions everywhere for AB 1102, including our Freedom Angels ones. Keep on it, keep emailing, keep calling, but it will go to that 3rd reading. It is not an urgency measure, which means that it just requires a simple majority. That is an urgency measure, requires a 2/3 vote. Either way, there's a supermajority of Democrats in this state. These bills that we're going to be talking about today, they all line up on Democratic Party platforms. And so if they want to put something through, they can put it through. Whether it's a simple majority or an urgency measure. So just so you know really quickly what 1102 does, the worst piece around it is that it amends the state discrimination code. And it says that to say that a private employer can require COVID-19 vaccines for employment as a condition of employment. What they're doing in this, or at least on the text that was leaked, we don't know what the final text looks like until Tuesday. And Tuesday is required for that final text because they have to have the 72 hours in there of it published. They include such things as the DOJ's guidance on employment mandates. They include things like the EEOC's guidance around employee COVID-19 vaccine mandates. They include the federal housing, and Fair Employment and Housing Department's guidance on it. So what they're doing is they're taking these guidances that were issued by these different entities and codifying them in this legislation. And that essentially has the power of them trying to say, this is already decided, even though these aren't laws, these aren't legal decisions, these aren't even right against when you weigh them against human and civil rights standards. But they're trying to make it as if it is. So it's really important. They also have things in there, at least in that original leaked text, around health and safety passes, like different ways that they can make your information, your digital information, your private medical information, as part of like these different ways to verify it. So the whole thing is a total mess.
Yeah.
Denise, you want to comment on that?
It is a total mess. What we once thought was going to take us 10 years to get somewhere is actually here already. We saw in another state, the digital tracking system that's attached to your driver's license, your health records, your credit score, your social credit, all of that is already hit the ground in Utah. So this isn't going to be something that we're going to be able to stop with one day of engagement. Our whole basis of when we started doing these trainings a year ago, or almost 2 years ago, oh my God, was really local engagement and to keep hammering them. We can't feel like just because they've tabled it for a couple of days or even the session that it's not going to come back next time. This is a global issue that is, it's here in California. And so now it's time to buckle down, organize, mobilize, and really create your plan A, B, and C. And that means when you go to any protest, when you go to any gathering, local or state, you want to go and you want to network. It's not just about standing there anymore and holding your sign. It's about, I even have a sign that says, I'm from San Joaquin County, come connect with me, and start collecting email addresses and start gathering your people, because it's going to take endurance. It's going to take, a lot of people to really start pushing back on your local and state government. We've let this go really far, really fast. So, there's other bills that Tara is going to go through. And like I said, we're going to keep this as a quick 20-minute video. And then we're going to just kind of let you know what direction that we're going in this week.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and Denise just said it better than anything, really, is go, whatever you do, wherever you are, it's not just about protesting or a one-time engagement. It's about building real world relationships at the local level in particular, and honestly going into the form of non-compliance and peaceful civil disobedience and resistance, and building out new ways so that, and aligning with anyone from around every issue of education, health, food sovereignty, all the pieces that will not violate human and civil rights. So yeah, so we'll tell you also about SB742. That is by Senator Pan. That is the one that makes it criminal to go outside of any space where people are in person or in a vehicle going to a vaccine clinic. It includes, pop-up clinics in malls, or includes the hospitals or doctor's office.
Schools and hospitals.
Yeah, thank you. All of it. It could be, your local downtown civic center, if they have one, same thing everywhere. And it's, if you're within 30 feet of someone who's within 100 feet of the entrance or exit, you can be charged with a crime. And this is you handing out leaflets. This is you holding a sign. This is you saying anything like that is considered violent and harassment, and it will be criminalized with $1,000 fine or 6 months in jail at the local level. It was heard in the assembly on Friday, September 3rd, and it passed. It is an urgency measure, which that means it requires 2/3 votes. It did pass. Again, this is all party lines, except for, let me add, independent Chad Mays, who used to be a Republican, quote Republican, he voted yes on it. So again, they passed it, which means it'll move on to the assembly to pass it. It'll move back to the Senate to pass it. They have the 2/3 votes needed just easily by party lines and even above it. So that will pass this coming week. I think the important thing to know about this is these things, they're just all codifying an agenda, saying, if you read the language on these and get yourself familiar with reading the language in the text, it's like, vaccines are critical. Vaccines are how we're saving everybody. Anything else is a threat to public health. This is how they set a narrative that, sets a two-tier society, but also criminalizes and marginalizes anybody that tries to question a narrative. It's a very top-down, totalitarian, authoritarian regime. It also puts in place all these things that, like the technocracy that can control and surveil on these grounds. It's like saying this is the standard and nothing else is anything but a threat.
Absolutely. And we're already seeing the narrative in the media. For quite a long time, we've been having the narrative that we're violent, that we are trying to kill people. And now they've actually went so far as to compare us to as American Taliban. It's laughable, right? Like, we're like, you guys are crazy. But if you watch CNN, if you watch, all these, not Fox, but all these other news stations, and it's on for a long period of time, that really is, I had the TV on for 2 hours and I was watching CNN just to see what they were doing, and the fear mongering and the amount of propaganda that's being allowed on that channel, those channels, along with verbiage like this, really sets us up to, I ask you all, please, if you do go to a protest, be mindful of who's around you. Don't go to a Capitol with pocket knives or mace or anything like that. You do not need to have anything on you. Know your state laws, abide by all state laws. Right now it's critical because we are expecting something to happen. And, like I said, just be mindful of who's around you. If you see something, say something, alert someone, but we've been set up to make it look like we're the violent ones. And it's non-violent, peaceful, non-compliance. That is really what we're practicing here. So when you do go, just please be very careful and go as a buddy system. We're coming up on 20 minutes.
Let me go. Yeah, HR 74. HR 74 passed on Friday the 3rd. This was House Resolution 74, and it was brought by Akila Weber, MD, Assemblywoman. And it is basically like the Nathan Fletcher, chair of the San Diego Board of Supervisors, who passed a few days ago on party lines, a misinformation resolution around health misinformation. The House resolution only is within that House. So this means that the California Assembly has made a statement. It doesn't have the weight of law like a statute or legislative bill does. But it does say that the voice of the Assembly has now declared that health misinformation is a public health crisis. It also says such things as describes that health misinformation as an urgent threat. It also says it puts the lives at risk, and that it urges the California government to do everything possible to put in measures to prevent that. So you can see again what these web that they're weaving with all this. So that passed, and I'll tell you the way they do it is they ask which of the Assembly members want to join on as co-authors. So 50 California Assembly members signed on as co-authors. You can go and look at them. That gives extra weight. That says they're putting their reputation on that as well. So you go and look and see which of those 50 Democrats signed on. Then they passed it out as on a roll call vote. So that went through. It's all one day, boom, 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 and through. Again, not the weight of law, but you can see the web they're weaving and what they're doing with it. And then the last one is AB1207, and that's Pathways Through Pandemic Task Force. That is also by Akila Weber, MD. She's like the new Senator Pan, by the way. And that one just went through a second reading, and that's going to keep moving. That one's getting all support because it just looks like a pandemic task force, but it's a really interesting one. Go look at all the different people, all the players that will be on that task force. They're going to engage local governments, state agencies, various different public health players. And it's a multi-year task force where they examine all the lessons learned of the COVID-19 pandemic and how they can instill better models and standards of practice for coming pandemics. So again, this is like, hey, how do we up-level Agenda 2030? How, let's take everything that we did, and it's all around, access to equity access. There's a lot of talk around minorities, making sure there's equity access to testing, to treatments, not even treatments, their treatments, to vaccines. It's going to be a really important place for people to look and push back, because these players are going to be setting, again, even more rigorous standards around what is, you know how it is. They're going to decide what was best practices, what was well and, done well or not well by a whole different set of metrics, just like when they decide what misinformation is. Whose misinformation? We agree misinformation is actually crimes against humanity. We're on two different sides of humanity about what is the misinformation.
So get involved. You can go to findyourrep.legislature.ca.gov to find your representative. You really want to hit them in their district offices before things get to the Capitol. For now, you still hammer the phones, you hammer the emails, you get as many people as possible, and you start organizing locally. If you are working BOS, your Board of Supervisors, your county commissioners, this is one of the most important local governments you're going to hit. If there's a representative who wants to step out and needs your support, you need to step out with them and bring your friends and give them the space that they can come out and they can really protect your freedoms. They work for the people and they don't know unless you start speaking up. We talk about these things for forever. And, you know, it's great when you have these local weekend protests, but take that energy and take it to your Board of Supervisors meeting. Contact your local Board of Supervisor and let them know how you're feeling. If they want to come out and really support, you know, the ban on passports, go out there and give them the space to be able to do that, because they are working up against people who do want the agenda in place. And it's a really hard and lonely spot when you're the only one standing up and very few people come to these Board of Supervisors meetings. So start getting involved. If you do already have a large group and you're looking to connect, Freedom Angels has our boots on the ground. And for this, we are looking for already established groups. So that way we can start kind of doing the trainings and getting people involved, because this week is just the beginning of where the fight's going to be. They're not going to stop until they put the whole agenda into place. And the only way that we'll be able to stop and create something else is if we have the numbers and we're very organized. So that's one of the things that we're trying to work on. Tara, do you want to say anything before we come off?
Yeah, just what Denise said, get connected on our Telegram, our Freedom Angels, Liberty for All Telegram, also particularly the Boots on the Ground Resistance. We are restructuring our United Counties of America initiative, and we are going to be training groups at the county level around the nation, and then also helping them connect in with local tribe. And my training meaning sharing best model practices amongst each other, and also the ones that we have developed out. So really just a next leveling for where we're at. As far as county stuff, get involved in every bit of it, from your schools to protesting and talking to your employers, protesting outside of any business that might require a vaccine mandate. And you know, we're going to be doing some trainings around empowering the people, particularly around peaceful civil disobedience, what it looks like in real world, various topics, different ways. You know, it's everything from these picnic protests to pots and pans to different tools and things that we have. But this is really where we're at, because the tyrants in California can pass whatever they want right now, with or without dirty politics. The way it's set up right now is anything that wants to get moved through can get moved through. So again, no matter what it is, whether it's guidance, executive order, resolutions, or law, if it's tyranny, it's tyranny. If it's discrimination, then it is unjust, and you must not comply with it. So that's really the era that we are being forced into now, into an era of peaceful noncompliance, but also of building out our new world. Like Buckminster Fuller said, you want to change something, you build a new model and make the old one obsolete. We spend a lot of our time focusing on that. In fact, most of our efforts are focused at that in all that we do. So please stay connected with us, share this, and get engaged, especially this week in California.
The hot week.
Recall to the state legislation, to the county stuff, to everything that's affecting your family, from school to work to being able to go into stores. Get involved, meet people locally, join local groups. And if you don't have one, then we can help you start one.
Absolutely. So you can register at freedom-angels.org. We have, like Tara said, a upcoming event where we're going to show you what real life, real resistance, civil disobedience looks like. And we are going to bring solutions to the table. We know what the problem is. We know how to maneuver it, but it's also, what are some solutions that we can also use in real life, real time? So we will shoot you guys an email on the next event. And we are so thankful that you're here and you've joined us on a Sunday. So God bless, and we will see you soon. Bye.